Welcome to the Sustainable Travel Podcast, the podcast that interviews a range of sustainable travelers from different backgrounds to see what sustainable travel means to them. I'm Emma, I'm your host from That Travel, and today I'm here with Paul from Way of Life, who is a professional blogger and vegan, and he's very enthusiastic about all of that. So Paul, hi, how are you?
I'm good, and I am very enthusiastic. It's my
We love
passion.
that. We absolutely love that. So Paul, I'm just going to hand straight over to you. Can you tell us who you are and a bit about what it is that you do?
Yeah, so my name is Paul Waye. I live in the Netherlands, and I'm 57 years old. So I'm sort of getting on in time. But I'm a professional blogger, and or rather, I'm a blogger who's been doing it for 13 years. And since October the 1st, I've become professional. So it's now my full-time job. And now people are going to say, what is a plogger? And it simply is picking up trash while you're running. It doesn't actually have to be running. It's sort of evolved, and it's just sort of when you go outside, walk the dog, doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're outside, it's an activity. If you pick up some trash, you're plogging. But in its purest form of how it started, it's running with trash. And yeah, I've been doing it since 2000. In fact, I know exactly the date, the 29th of September,
Oh, wow.
2011. Yeah, and that's the beauty of social media, because what happened was I was just running to the train station. So getting onto the sustainability travel idea there. So I would go into work and I'd sort of run 5 kilometers to the train station, then catch the train. I was just running along these beautiful country lanes, and then what happened is I just looked in the hedgerow, and there was all this trash there, and I just decided that I just asked myself a question: if I don't pick it up, who will? So yeah, I was just running along in the hedgerow, and then I looked down, I saw all this trash, and it was just the traditional trash. It was plastic trash. It was, bottles, cans, fast food restaurants, and I thought, if I don't pick it up, who will? And so I just bent down, picked up some trash, ran to the train station, and before I put it in the bin, I made a tweet about it. So and that's how it started. So I know exactly the date I started. So it's just over
Awesome.
13 years ago.
What do you know what the tweet said?
Yeah, yeah, and that's actually, oh, that's a good question. The reason being is because plogging as a word didn't exist until 2016. So this was sort of 5 years before the word existed. So I didn't, yeah, and it's the old phone. So I was like, you have to do a b b b b b like that. So it wasn't before smartphones. So I had to sort of keep it concise. So I just used Keep Britain Tidy, the hashtag Keep Britain Tidy.
Yeah,
That's what I grew up with, and so I just used that, picked up this trash
nice.
on my run into the train station.
Do you know where the word coming comes from? Plogging. I looked it up and I think
Yeah,
it's really interesting. Go on, do
yeah,
you want to
it's
tell
really
us?
cool. And I actually know Eric, who is the founder of Plogger. So it was formed in 2016. It's a combination of two Swedish words for plocka up, which is sort of pick up, and jogger, sort of jogging. So together they combine to form Plogger. In Swedish, in English, it's plogging, and in Dutch, it's ploggen. So yeah, it's the beauty of that word is, so because I was doing this for these years before, I didn't know what to call it. It was like suddenly my hashtags were getting longer. It was like hashtag I went for a run and I picked this up and then I put it in the bin and I took a photo of it and I made a tweet. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was like too long a tweet. So what I could do, what the beauty of blogging is it connects a community.
yeah,
Suddenly we had a word throughout the world that people could understand what the other person was doing. And
yeah,
that is the beauty of the word. It united and it formed a movement.
yeah. I think it's amazing. I mean, we've already covered our question too of what is plogging, but I think it's like something that was really important to cover first because a lot of people may not. I hadn't heard of it. I hadn't heard this word before. And it's so simple. Like, when I'm out walking my dog, like obviously I do pick up the odd thing that I see on the street. It's just the notion to me of making the world ever so slightly better than it was before you got out into it, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And what I say is, when you pick up a piece of trash, and what I do is crazy. I run a lot, and I pick up 40,000 liters of trash a year. So
Oh,
that's just on my daily run. So that's just a crazy amount. That's sort of like 2 bin bags a day kind of thing. And I don't want people to do that. I just want people to pick up one piece of trash. And as
yeah,
soon as you do that, you make a difference. And more importantly, when you pick up that piece of trash, suddenly that run that you're doing, that selfish act of running that you're doing for yourself, has now become something that's of benefit to you, it's of
Hmm.
benefit to us, and it's of benefit to the planet. And so, really, it just starts with a single piece.
Yeah. Yeah, very inspiring. That's a lot of rubbish that you're picking up there.
It's crazy, huh? Yeah, and that is, and yeah, it's just it's the same roots as well. I live in a relatively
Oh,
clean
really?
city called Harlem, and that most people would consider clean. Yeah, how come I can pick up 40,000 pieces of litter? And the reason is because the world is pretty big. If you actually sort of see when I'm picking up trash, then you see, oh, right, it's not a big pile of 40,000 liters of trash.
Mm.
One thing I do in January is I just focus on one type of trash, that's cans. And before they introduced the deposit system in the Netherlands, so we've now got a deposit system on them. So, and that's made a huge difference. But before that, I was picking up 8,000 cans in a month.
Oh my God.
So if you put that in a line, that was 1 kilometer long. So
Mm.
1 kilometer and a line of cans. But if you looked at how long I was running for, that was like a can every 50 meters. So as a sort of a person, you don't realize how much trash is on the ground because there might be a can every 50 meters. You don't see it in one go, so you don't realize. But you add up all of those 50 meters, and then suddenly you've got 8,000 cans. And that's just my area. Now, multiply that by the number of roads that there are in the Netherlands, the number of roads there are in Europe, the number of roads there are in the world, and it's a shocking amount of trash.
Mm. And even places like, as you said, that seem super clean, not that clean, like they've got a lot of rubbish that's out there that you just wouldn't necessarily notice. Yeah, good food for thought. And all of those kinds, of course, are recyclable. And once you've picked them up, hopefully can be recycled, right?
Yeah. So one of the important things that I always say is with plogging, there are no rules. You do it exactly how you want to. So if you're doing it with walking the dog, yeah, it's plogging. That's fine. It's your way of doing it. And it's the same thing with recycling. Now, obviously, the best thing to do is to get that into a recycling bin. Having
Hmm.
said that, I run 4,000 kilometers a year. It's not possible for me to necessarily put everything in a bin. There are
Yeah.
ways you can do it. You can, so like with the cans, because I'm focusing on one type of trash, I know it will go perfectly. I just fill up a bag and when I see a recycling bin, I can put it in there. But what I do most of the time is I just get off the streets, get it into the bin, and then that still has a benefit. It gets it off the streets, it gets it out of danger, it stops it
Yeah.
getting into the waterways, it stops it getting into nature. And so there's still a benefit there. And perhaps an even bigger benefit is it makes the council aware they've got to then do something with it. If it's in nature, they'll just forget about it, it gets buried under the earth over the years to come. If it's in a bin, the council has to handle it.
Yeah. Great point. And then hopefully they'll put in more recycling bins, more compost bins, ways to deal with this.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's suddenly, and it affects their stats. Suddenly, they
Mm.
have this more. They suddenly got a lot more trash. They can't have their. Oh yeah, we recycle 85% of it. Suddenly, because of what I'm
Yeah.
doing, it's down to 80%.
Yeah. Yeah, good. You should be making that much of a difference. It's really good. And you did actually, I do want to ask before we get on to the third question, how much do you run per day, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I run average of 11 to 12 kilometers a day. So,
Okay.
but obviously I don't do the same distance each day. So some days I might do a marathon, some days I might do sort of a 6 kilometer run. So it all depends really what I'm doing and errands I've got. So, but I'll leave that cryptic answer to when you ask about travel because
Okay.
running actually links in nicely to sustainability and travel.
Perfect. That is going to be my next question. I was going to ask you, so obviously this is the Sustainable Travel podcast. And you've already mentioned sustainable travel, but how do you practice that?
Yeah. I think I did this anyway, but I think it's also worth putting a sort of just a little backstory on there. I got knocked off my bike. I was just cycling to the train station and I got run over on a roundabout. It was just super early in the morning, and they just weren't looking for a bike, even though I had all this high vis stuff and I looked like a starship. I had so many lights on, but they just knocked me off, and that gave me a bit of a phobia. So I actually got PTSD, and in so it helps. It gives me an excuse not to go in the car. But yeah, I do have a little bit of a phobia in the car as a result. But even before there, I practice something very simple, and that is, can I run there? If I need to go somewhere, I ask myself, can I run there? If I
Hmm.
can run there, I will run there. if I can't run there, can I bike there? And if I can't bike there, can I take a train? So
Mm-hmm.
it's all of those. I tick all of those boxes, or I find out I can't tick one of those boxes before I consider the car. And
Mm.
so, in terms of my daily sustainability travel, it's actually daily life where it has the biggest impact on me because I will walk to the supermarket. I never go in the car to the supermarket
Mm-hmm.
because it's so close. We live in the Netherlands, and we always took our kids to school either walking or on a bike.
Mm-hmm.
So sustainability travel is actually a, a huge part of my life, but part of my daily life that is
Mm-hmm.
not related to work and is not related to holidays. So that is really where I sort of sort of really put my efforts, and that will go down to my running event. So if I go to a running event, so I've got a race somewhere, and that might be an hour away. Uh, there's a few friends of mine that go by car, and they
Mm-hmm.
just go in the car, and they ask me exactly. It's gone become a bit of a joke. They say to you, that say to me, "Do you want a lift?" And I go, "No, I'm taking the train." And they always ask. They always know what the answer is going to be, but why why would I go in a car and be sat still when I can actually start my adventure
Mm-hmm.
from the doorstep? So I run to the train station, which is like a 2 kilometer warm up, picking up trash.
Mm-hmm.
So I pick up some trash before I get to the train station, get on the train, and I go to the event. And then I might have a short run as well to the event. And that's my warm up. Again, picking up trash. So
Mm-hmm.
suddenly I've had an adventure. I've made an impact for picking up trash, and I've not used a car.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. There's a couple of things that I used to live in London. I lived there for 12 years. And I used to walk everywhere in the city. I rarely took the tube. And I don't know where it came from. I think it was just like when I was at university, I just had no money and I just didn't want to take the tube. I just wanted to walk all the time. And it became, like, as you say, a joke among my friends. They'd be like, Emma's mad. Like, she'll walk anywhere. She'll walk hours. She'll be like, oh, it's a short walk and it's an hour and a half. And it was just a thing that I just love walking. And it's so funny to me that people genuinely think you're nuts when you're like, I'm going to walk.
What doesn't make sense to me is people will go in the car to the gym to go and work out, whereas if they walk, they're
Half it
actually
done.
already exercising. I don't get it.
Yeah.
It's sort of free. It means, just by walking somewhere, suddenly you're saving so much money.
Yeah, I
And
know.
for me, it's a no-brainer. I
Yeah,
just love it.
yeah, I know. I do too. I do understand that there are accessibility issues that come with, walking and taking the train and things. Some people need to use cars and it's great they exist. But for me personally, I would always rather be out walking. And if I can, I'll always use my feet.
Here's
And then
hang on. There's a good story here. It's actually just reminded me
yeah,
about
go on.
cars and things. It's actually the reason why we live in Haarlem is so I moved across here 20 years ago. So I had a
Hmm.
Dutch wife, and we decided to live in the Netherlands. And she said, wherever you go, that'd be fine. So we moved. I got a job in Amsterdam, and Haarlem is around 13 miles, sort of 21 kilometers, 22 kilometers away from Amsterdam. And we actually chose Haarlem because it was the perfect cycling to work distance for me. So we
Oh,
actually got a
perfect.
circle around Amsterdam. Said, right, I can cycle that, and so we sort of looked within that. And I had a rule of so for 10 years I worked in this place, and I was cycling every day. And I didn't understand how people would get in a car and go. I spent an hour every morning cycling to work, and once a week I'd run to work as well. And it was such a joy.
Yeah.
Although a tip for people that want to do that is consider sun up, sun down, because it meant I was whichever direction I was going in, either the sun was coming up into my eyes
Oh,
or it
yeah.
was going down into my eyes. So I was always actually in the direction of the sun. But it was just, even on the rain days, it was just so beautiful to be out
Yeah.
there cycling and breathing in oxygen instead of just sat in a car.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. And the second thing I was going to say on the point you just made is when you were talking about, I go there and pick up trash and then I get on the train and then I get off, do my run and blah, blah. So for that as well, that plays into not just sustainable travel, but also, do you know about regenerative travel?
No.
So we have another guest coming on. I can't remember if she's before or after you, but she's brilliant as well. And she's talking about regenerative travel, which is basically the idea, like I said at the start, of just making somewhere better than it was when you went. So what you're practicing definitely is that, like, it's the idea of you're doing something for you, but at the same time for the planet, for your health, for the health of the planet. Like it plays into each other. And I think it's so
I
important.
I, uh, I worked for a company that probably I'm not going to mention their name because it probably will give people a poor impression of me. But they had a core value of stewardship, and that's the same kind of thing. It was sort of leave it better than you found it, and that's exactly
Hmm.
what I do with the running. It's I'm picking up this trash, and I'm picking up so the person that's walking behind me has got a even more of a beautiful environment to walk in
Hmm.
than I did, and it's exactly that. It's just it adds it you are taking care of, so you're a caretaker, but you're also a steward. You're making it better. Than you're not just making it the same, you're improving it, and it only has to be slightly. If we all do it slightly, then suddenly the world's so much better.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I think you just came back from Italy, is that right?
Yeah, so I've just come back from Italy, and that was my first long travel trip on a train. So in Italy there is the World Plogging Championships every year. Yep, we have a World Championships for picking up trash and running.
That's very
So
cool.
it's super cool, isn't it? It just sort of shows you how much it's grown. So it's the fourth year that they've done it. So I've done it for 3 years. The first year I did it in 22, I came second. So I was second in the world. I've had a couple of sort of hiccups with sort of injuries and stuff, which meant I've not performed as well as I could since then. But this year was the first year I took the train.
Hmm.
I think,
From the
as much
Netherlands.
as from the Netherlands. So I went from the Netherlands through to Italy, and the reason why I did that was actually I was influenced by another competitor. So the first year I did it, this Swedish woman, Eleanor, she said to me, "Why are you flying? Well, yeah, why would you fly to this event when traveling by train is so wonderful?"
Hmm.
And I was like saying, yeah, okay. We had this really long conversation, and she convinced me to do it. The next
Hmm.
year, I didn't do it because of there was actually so last year I didn't do it. The reason being is I did look into it, but
Hmm.
I'm going to be honest, I didn't know you could interrail as an old person. So I didn't. I just assumed I knew about interrail, but I thought that was it was like some sort of special offer for people
Like
that are
backpackers.
students. Yeah,
Yeah.
backpackers. So I thought, that you can't do it as a 57-year-old. So I never considered that. So when I looked at the actual individual train prices, I was like, blimey, I can't afford that. It's cheaper to fly. It's a little bit quicker to go by, but to fly as well. So last year I didn't do it, and I felt guilty. Um, I did feel guilty, and then this year I became aware that I could use Interrail,
Hmm.
and so I did it, and yeah, and I loved it. I learned loads. I didn't. It's like as everything when you do something for the first time, you make mistakes and you have successes, and you learn from it. And I can say even the failures were fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I like trains in Europe. And there you go, Interrail is for everybody. There we go, Interrail. But I definitely think that, yeah, like when you're looking at trains in Europe, so many people they either love them or they hate them, especially did you travel with Deutsche Bahn at all?
My 2 hour delay was with
Yeah.
them.
Oh, poor Deutsche Bahn. They used to be so good, and then they've just gone down the toilet. And every person I speak to, when I'm trying to say, yeah, take the train in Europe, they always say to me, no, but Deutsche Bahn, like, I can't deal with them.
Yeah, it was there was a 2 hour delay on them, but then that just highlighted for me the beauty of the train. Yeah, I missed my
Mhm.
connection. I just got the next one. If
Yeah.
yeah, on flying, I had so many flights cancelled over the years, and suddenly I had to rearrange it. There, you've got to book a new flight. You've got all the
Yes.
hassle of cancelling and all of that hassle. This was yeah, bang, on the next train, and there's
Yeah.
usually one sort of quite quick. So yeah, it meant I got to the destination a couple of hours later, but I got to the destination without hassle. So
Mm.
it was
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, I think if you leave yourself enough time, it's generally fine. How long did it take you from Harlem to
Yeah,
Sydney?
so from Harlem, so the my connections were going from, I think I started around 6 in the evening and I got there around six in the next day. So
Hmm.
it took around 24 hours. So I had so the first mistake I made was the night train. I was like going, no, I'm interrailing. I can't take a bed. So I didn't do a bed on the overnight from Amsterdam to I think it was Basel. That was the Deutsche. So I sort of did this overnight, and I thought, no, I'm not going to spend 80 euros on a bed. I'm just going to be on these seats, and then that's
That's a
where I
rookie
made
mistake, Paul, if you don't
that
mind me
was that.
saying.
Oh, that was a rookie mistake. And the other rookie mistake was I took a window seat as well because I was thinking I can work as, which was the problem there is suddenly you've got no extra because we were on seats opposite each other. I
Mm,
had no ability to really stretch my legs.
yeah.
So I was stuck for a few hours, sat on a chair without the ability to move. And the person opposite me was this short Italian who just had
Mm,
his legs were just literally just just perfectly. Yeah, he had no
that's me.
problem, and he put his bag down there as well. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I've got his legs in his bag, and I was like, I was just oh, I've got to do a World Championships running, and I can't move my
Yeah.
knees, and it was just completely full. So I think next time I will go on a aisle seat, so I can always know that I can stretch my legs, and it's easier for me to get up and walk around. Because that was the other thing I didn't consider, that I should actually get up and walk around a little
Mm,
bit just to sort of stretch it, and then that would have made the world of difference. So that was actually the biggest mistake I made, was that seat choice
yeah.
on the overnight.
But you can choose the seats. That's kind of the beauty of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was just so easy. It was sort of, okay, I'm going to do this one. I'm going to get this seat reservation, things like that. There was loads of excitement as well. So twice there were security officers coming on doing random searches. Oh, this is fantastic. So the first time I had no idea that this happened. So they just did a when we entered Switzerland, there was a random bag check, and then suddenly this guy got escorted off the train in handcuffs.
Ooh,
I know.
drama.
So I think I don't know the reason why, but I think it's because he was snoring so loud. That is my seriously. It was, and a couple of people were like, "Oh, thank God he's gone," because he was a big snorer.
Oh my
So
God.
he got escorted off. And then the next one was on the Italian border. And I was like, I think, oh, this is so Italian. This is like, in terms of stereotyping it, the culture. So the Italian officers came on board, and then they asked the seats that we were in who was Italian. And then what they said, he said, so they actually focused on searching just the Italians to make it easy on themselves. So rather than, so I was like thinking the people are probably likely going to be doing something dodgy and going to be the non-Italians trying to get into the country, but no,
Yeah.
they were like, nah, let's just focus on the Italians. Then we have less
Oh,
work to do.
brilliant. Can't be bothered not speaking Italian. We'll
Yeah, exactly.
just.
Oh, that's just way too much hassle. I'm not even going to tell him that I need to look at his bags. So
That's so funny. I love when things like that happen. My husband and I went on like for our honeymoon, we backpacked through Africa for 6 months. And I will honestly never forget one time we were getting on a bus and it was a very long, very delayed bus. And a guy tried to get on and it's always quite a hassle in these parts when you're trying to like, he was negotiating the price. They eventually said, yeah, okay, you can come on. And just before he got on, he said, oh, by the way, we're just about to cross the border. I've got a snake in my bag. And he just pulled it out. And I was like, and the entire
snakes on
bus was
trains.
freaking
Oh,
out, honestly. But I do love a bit of drama.
oh yeah, I mean, and it doesn't matter where yeah, if you fly, or if you go, whatever travel you get, there's always some sort of drama. I've had plenty of drama on other ones, but yeah,
Yeah.
it just seemed, yeah, it just made the trip for me,
Yeah.
and also seeing sort of from a plogging perspective, I think the train brought home something really important for me. So because we do the World Championships in Italy every year, I've seen a lot of trash in Italy, and that's
Mm.
given me a bad impression of Italy, thinking that they are a nation that is just they're just litter bugs. And
Yeah.
then we went to the place that we went to this time. The train stations were so spotless,
Mm.
amazingly spotless. There was graffiti everywhere, beautiful graffiti, and literally every train stop and tram stop, but it was spotless. There
Yeah.
was not one thing. And then I get back to the Netherlands afterwards, and the first thing I find are Starbucks cups on the
Mhm.
ground in the train, and food packaging, and suddenly I just felt ashamed to be a Dutch person. So it just completely it because you're traveling a lot broader than you are in that destination that you go, you get to
Yeah.
see more diversity and you get to see more truth instead of
Mm.
just that tourist destination that you might be ending up in that you would do through a flight.
Yeah, I love that you said that. It's definitely true. It sounds like the train was a real highlight, to be honest, of the trip.
It was. I would do it. Yeah, I will do it differently next year. So I will make sure I do go a day earlier so I can
Hmm.
recover from it because obviously I've got a World Championships to think about. I want to make sure I've fully recovered. So I
Yeah.
will do that. I had a wheelie bag that was massive. It was like literally I had a small elephant in there, and next time the wheelie bag was because it was so big it was awkward to get on and off, and I
Mhm.
prefer anyway to have sort of like a rucksack that I can
Yeah.
just shove over my shoulders. So I'll do that next time. But yeah, absolutely, and I will be less concerned about the number of stops and transfers I need to make. So whereas
Yeah.
before I would sort of like choose the one that had the minimum amount, now I'd kind of go, oh, well, kind of like the idea of five different places, and if it
Mm.
works out with, oh, it's not impacting my sleep and things like that. I kind of liked those
Mm.
transfers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of lessons that were learned in that, and I'm excited already for next year.
Amazing. Paul, I did want to ask you about so obviously we said the train was a highlight, which I love, but I wanted to ask you as well about the plogging championships themselves. You said you came second one year, which is amazing. Can you tell us a bit more about them?
Yeah, well, it is amazing until I tell you that I got beaten by a 70-year-old. So
Awesome, 70-year-olds.
yeah, it's a fantastic event, and they've really organized it well. They've thought very carefully around it. So the way that the championships work, there's now two events. So this year was the first time they did two events. So on the Saturday they've got what they call the trail event, and that's 6 hours long. So you start and you finish at the same point, and it's 6 hours. So there's no who goes over the line first. It's basically 6 hours. Let's see the distance you've run and how much trash you've got.
Mhm.
So you get points for the trash that you collect, obviously. That's
Mhm.
the biggest amount of points you can get. And then they divide that up in terms of carbon footprint. So plastic, aluminium cans have got a bigger point score than paper. So they base it on the carbon footprint of that material, and then they sort it all out, weigh it, and everything like that. But you also get points
Okay.
for the running that you do. So in the 6 hours, I think everyone's doing around 30 kilometers, and then you get points for the altitude as well. It's in the mountains, so
Mm.
it's a beautiful event, and it's what is bizarre is if you're used to doing running events, what you see is you're at the start line, the gun goes off, and everyone goes straight ahead, and it's like, boff, straight ahead. With plogging, it's you've got to find that trash, so the gun goes off, and everyone goes completely opposite directions. It's just fantastic. They've got different checkpoints and things like that, but yeah, it's a really well organized event. And then on the Sunday they do a short form one, so it's like an hour and a half, and then that's just based in the center of a city. This year it was in Bergamo
Mhm.
near Milan, and we were just sort of running around there. So that was fun. And on that one, I focus more on. I don't really do it to compete. I do it to make an impact. So
Yeah.
I do it wearing a banana suit, playing disco music, and just sort of try and get people to see what I'm doing. So the reason
Yeah.
being is going back to sort of plugging. One of the phrases I say is when you pick up a piece of trash, you make an impact.
Mhm.
But if people see you doing it, you can make a difference. So I want people, I do crazy stuff for people to see me. I want to be as outrageously seen as possible. I want to be Kim Kardashian with millions of followers. And the reason being is I have a bigger chance of making an impact then. So yeah, it's all about being seen. What was a bit surreal with this event was, so I'm there in my banana suit playing disco music, and I found a huge keyboard. So I'm also got a keyboard on my shoulder carrying it along with this disco music blaring
Oh.
out. So I was getting some very bizarre looks from the Italians.
Well, I'm sure they loved it. We also need to talk about the banana suit. You've got a really exciting trip coming up, and you're going to be wearing the banana suit the whole time, right?
Yeah. So going to back to the professional plogging. So now that so I'd like to be seen, as I said. So I've done weird stuff. So a lot of the time I will run around town in a banana suit because and with the disco music, people hear the disco music, it's happy music, they start smiling, and then they see the banana suit and they start laughing,
Yeah,
and then they see, hang on, he's picking up trash.
yeah.
And bang, got them. So all of that is to look at me. So, and it's the same thing with other things. I recently ran Rotterdam Marathon in an outfit that was made from 600 cans I picked up off the street with a great big
Amazing.
flag. So what I discovered was the biggest way to make an impact is to go stupidly crazy. And so, as a professional plogger, I am really going crazy next year. I've got the time to do it. So, what I'm doing next May is I am going to be running between each capital city of each province in the Netherlands. So, basically, I'm going to be running 1,000 kilometers around the country in a banana suit. So I'll be doing a marathon a day, picking up trash the entire time, completely self-sustained. So I'll be having a little trolley behind me with a tent in it and things, and just to raise awareness. And I'll be going for every one of these cities. So it should have. I'm hoping it's going to be a bit like Forrest Gump. I start off with no one, and then by the end of it, I'll have like a sort of people are just joining me in for the day and sort of
Yeah.
following me, coming with me for 5 kilometers or a marathon or whatever they want to do. So I'm
I hope
hoping
you'll
it's
also
sort of
have the beard, the Forrest Gump beard.
maybe I do. I never thought. Oh gosh, I never even thought about it. I will have to take a razor, won't I? Something like a shaver.
No,
I
just leave
probably
it.
will. Oh no, because I've got a bald head, or rather, I may deliberately shave my head because I've got that kind of the patch, that ring around the back of my head that your granddad has. By a month long, I would just look like an old man. So no, I have to take some sort of thing. So
Well,
I
I'm
could have
kind
a
of
beard
hoping
by
for
the end of it,
the
but I'm definitely not going to do a Forrest Gump and then get to the end and go, I think I'll run back.
yeah.
I'm definitely not going to do that.
No, so
But
when
yeah,
so it's a circle though.
it's a big loop, or sort of just if you think of like the Netherlands, it's literally a windy loop all the way around from top to bottom, from east to west,
Hmm.
all the way through. So it's going to be over 1,000 kilometers in a month, so around a marathon a day. But it's not a race, so
Wow.
if I do. Yeah, it's not a 4 hour marathon a day. If I do it in 10 hours, then that's fine. So I can walk bits and
Yeah.
just sort of make sure I get the biggest impact as I can.
Yeah, that's incredible. And which area of the Netherlands are you most excited to see?
Oh, um, the one I'm least excited to see is Maastricht and sort of down south because that's hilly. So,
Fair.
but there's definitely some areas where I've never been to. So I'm literally going to see all of the Netherlands, and that reminds me of. So my mother-in-law lives sort of on one end of the country. So when we've always, if we do go there, we do drive. Whereas a family, we're in a car. So that's one of the times when we do drive.
Mm.
But then you're just highways all the time. One year I decided to cycle it. So it's around 110 kilometers. So I sort of cycled it. And suddenly I realized I went through places that weren't a motorway. And I just saw the beauty of the Netherlands.
Mm.
It was stunning.
Yeah.
I just went through these small villages and I was like, wow,
Mm.
I have done this journey to my mother-in-law so often with the kids, and I didn't realize this existed.
Yeah.
So in terms of what I'm most excited about seeing is I'm excited about seeing the real Netherlands.
Yeah. Good answer. We have some really good friends in the Netherlands who live in Friesland, and
Yeah.
we went and stayed with them, and they were very passionate about Friesland. They kept saying, "It's you won't believe it's the Netherlands. It's so beautiful." And I have to say, yeah, they were right. It's beautiful.
Well, tell them I'll be heading their way
Yes,
in May.
I'm sure they will listen. I'm sure they will. Um, and in terms of like going around, then how many kilometers did you say that was?
It's 1,000. So I'll be doing yeah for 30 days. I'll be doing a marathon a day. So I think I've still got to work out the route and I kind of go a bit crazy. So I tend to always think if I've got a bit of time before the event, I just ask myself how can I make it crazier. So I'm a little bit scared. So technically it's going to be at least 1,000. Realistically, it's currently probably around 1,200.
Mm.
I'm scared to think what it ends up being, and it will probably be more than a month. But yeah, I'll just focus on a marathon a day and see how long it takes.
So about a month. And what are you hoping for in terms of the publicity and the trip itself? What do you want people to know and to say about you,
I
I guess?
did. I did tell you I wanted to be Kim Kardashian. I want all eyes on me.
Yep.
So
We can do
because
that.
then I've got then the more people that look at me, then yeah, if I can only inspire 1% of people in the world, then if the bigger number of people I reach, that 1% is bigger in terms of
Yeah.
actual numbers. So what I hope to get out of it is I hope to get out several things, but obviously the biggest thing is to get awareness, is to sort of to really make an impact. I'm not doing it for a charity. So a lot of people are saying, what charity you can do for it. No, you give your money to the charity you want to. What I'd like you to do, if you want to support me, is I want you to go outside, bend down, and pick up a piece of trash,
Hmm.
and then bang, you've supported me. That's the only thing I want out of it. Personally, I want to then, I want to sort of, hopefully it sort of helps me grow, gets that bigger sort of audience,
Hmm.
makes sort of a bigger reach. I'm doing all this through, the only way I can be a professional athlete is if I've got sponsors, companies that want to support me,
Hmm.
with a logo. It's a, sort of got a really nice package for them to do that. And this is one of the things. The more eyes on me, the more eyes on my sponsors, and hopefully that encourages more sponsors to come to me to mean that I can do something crazier next year. Each year it will get bigger and bigger.
I mean, supporting you is picking up trash. Like that's as simple
Yeah,
as it is supporting you, is supporting the planet. So I hope that people see that.
yeah, that's it. And I always say that when you pick up a piece of trash, it says you care. You suddenly you care for someone other than yourself. You're caring about the environment around you. You're caring about the future of what happens. And if everyone picked up a piece of trash, and if everyone cared, how many of the world problems today would actually disappear?
Well
And
said.
it just starts off with a single piece of trash.
Mm.
Yeah, the trash is actually it's not a negative story. For me, you've got two types of bloggers. You've got the ones that will look at the trash as being the focus of their story, and they're grumbly. They're like, yeah, in terms of Mr. Men, they're Mr. Grumpy. They're just going around, everyone's dropping trash. No, 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 no. And then you've got people. I'm Mr. Happy because the trash. I can't do it. It's on the ground. I can try and inspire people not to do it, but what I can do is I can pick it up. I can do a positive action, and
Mm.
that makes me happy. So I'm kind of going around, trash me. I'm Mr. Happy. So, for me, it's very much a positive story about how we can make small actions to actually make a difference.
Mm. Yeah, incredible. And before I ask my last question, is there anything else that you want to share that we didn't cover or that you just want the world to know about you?
Um, oh gosh, where do you start? Yeah, but you can't ask that because then you're never going to get to your last question because I want them to know everything. No, I think just give. What I would say is to give my Instagram a plug. So Way of Life, Waye of Life. So I think that's the only thing is. So it's just have a look at that, and if it inspires you, then follow. And that's really where my daily stories are. It's about a daily positive story that I want to put out into the world, and I try and do that. Um, yeah. So yeah, check out Way of Life, and then you get to see all the crazy stuff that I love doing.
Perfect. Well, that actually was my last question. I was going to
Oh,
ask,
in
where
which
can people
case,
find you? I was going to say, where can people find you? And is there anything else that you're working on at the moment that people should know about?
yeah. So at the moment, in terms of working on, so the big plan is for next May. That's the one big. So each year I want to do a crazy adventure, and then just to give you an idea, I want to in 3 years' time I want to plog across America. So that's my
Wow.
ultimate goal is to literally do that race across America that people do, but do it picking up trash in a
Mm,
banana suit. So that will be my sort of ultimate goal. So each year I do that, but then all muddled in there is daily craziness that goes on. So Rotterdam this year, I did the outfit made of aluminium cans. I picked up the 600, so I thought, okay, how can I make that bigger this year? So what I've been doing for the last few months is picking up plastic single use bottles.
mhm,
So that could be water, it could be Coke, Pepsi, whatever it is. So I've been picking up those, and I want to have 1,000 of them.
mhm,
I think I'm up to around 750 bottles at the moment. So when I get to 1,000, and to put that in perspective, that's around 12, 13 bin bags of bottles.
mhm.
So that is a lot. I want to
Yeah.
compress that all and turn that into actually a Mr. Happy suit, a great big sort of
Oh, I
round
love
bubble.
that.
So I'm going to turn it into a big bubble, but it's actually going to be the earth. So it's
Mhm.
going to be a 1,000 plastic bottle earth suit. So I'm
Wow.
going to make it look like the earth, and then I'm going to run a marathon in it. So it's going to be so huge. I've got to try and figure out how I can actually get through a door in it because I won't be able to. So I can
Oh
only
my
put it on
goodness.
outside. And then on the behind it, I'll have a little stick with another ball in the back, and that's
Mhm.
going to have a 360 camera in it. So that's going to be the moon. So behind me, I'll have the moon, and that's going to have a little camera in it. And then on the front, I'll have another little one, and that's going to be the International Space Station. So I've got two cameras.
Oh, that's
So
really cute.
yeah,
Oh, that's
so
nice though.
that's that's sort of one thing. But yeah, throughout the year there will be plenty of small adventures like that I'm just currently working on. So yeah, I've got a whole heap. Trust me, you'll be here for a whole hour just for me going through them all.
So lots of exciting projects people can follow.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's yeah. I think the problem with blogging for me is I'm just out there enjoying myself on my own, picking up trash, just enjoying nature, and my mind just wanders and it kind of goes, "Oh, what crazy thing can I come up with now?" And so
Mhm.
all of this just happens organically just from
Yeah.
while I'm out blogging. Most of the posts I make on social media are actually from me stepping out that door, not knowing what I'm going to talk about, and the trash tells a story, or
Yeah.
the um, oh, there is one story. Have we got time for me to tell one cool story to end on? A
Please.
positive story.
Yes.
Let me give you because going back to that, this is I think this is a story that people will enjoy, and it shows you that bloggers don't just pick up trash; they also pick up treasures. So this happened about 3 years ago. So I was running on my normal route around just the woods just near here, and I saw on the side of the road this pillowcase.
Mhm.
And I thought, oh gosh, well, yeah. When you see a pillowcase, you kind of get worried. There's going to be something in it that you just really do not want to see.
Mhm.
So I sort of, with trepidation, I sort of went over there and sort of peeked in, and it was a security box. It was
Mhm.
a security box that had been broken open, and it would just been it'd been thrown out of a car. Straight away someone's been robbed. A security box has been smashed open, and then it's just been thrown. All the valuables been taken. It's just been thrown out of the window, the car window, and then but in that box there were still photos. There were
Mhm.
letters. There were all of these wonderful memories from someone that were just discarded on the side of the road,
Mhm.
and there are also bank statements. So I thought, oh, I can do something with this. So I put it back in the pillowcase, and then I ran home with it. And then just from the bank statements, I could find out who it was.
Mhm.
So I gave them a call, and it was someone in their 90s. It was a woman in her 90s,
Mhm.
and what had happened is there were two people went to a door and pretended to be home help, and while one distracted her, the other one robbed her and threw it out the window. And you could see that she was so it had affected. She's 90 years old. She was, yeah,
Yeah.
this had made a huge impact on her. And it didn't help that I was trying to speak to her with a deep voice in broken Dutch. I think I scared. I think I scared her as well. So I got my wife to talk to her as well to calm down. Okay, no, he's English. He can't. His Dutch is really bad. Trust me. He's doing something nice. So we managed to sort of just explain to her, and then we say, look, we won't come around. We'll call the police, and then the policeman can come around and give it to you. So we got the police person over, and if that was a good day, that was a
Mm,
day where I couldn't turn around the trauma that that woman had had, but hopefully I sort of helped restore a little bit of faith in humanity on that day. And
yeah.
that is part of blogging. You never know what you find, and it could be that you make someone's day, or whatever happens, you've made an impact.
Yeah. She's lucky you found it. Could have been somebody else.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Someone might have just thought, oh, it's trash, I'll put it in the bin. Someone might
Mm.
have just left it there. So, or it might have rained and then suddenly everything's washed away and everything. So yeah, it's just one of those pure chances, and it really felt like that was meant to be, and it was a good day.
Mm. Oh, well done. That's really nice. So
Yeah.
I will wrap up. So yeah, we've been the Sustainable Travel Podcast, and this is Paul from Way of Life. His Instagram will be just under his face here in the YouTube, and it will also be in the description on the video and in the Spotify. So the Sustainable Travel Podcast, you can find us at the Sustainable Travel Podcast on Instagram or at www.thattravel.co.uk/the-sustainable-travel-podcast. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. That was fun.
Good.